Since 2018, Cupra have been their own standalone brand and have gone from strength to strength. They started off with the Cupra Ateca, which was borrowed from Seat, and since then they've created their own vehicles in the Cupra Formentor, the Cupra Born, and the Cupra Tavascan. And here is their latest creation, it's the Cupra Terramar. So the Cupra Terramar has been unveiled in Barcelona in partnership with the America's Cup. And let's get started with the name, the Terramar. It's actually named after the historic race circuit here in the region of Terramar. But what we're basically saying is when I get inside the car, it'll be really confusing because I'm going to be in Terramar, in Terramar. In this video, I'm going to be showing you around the exterior of the car and I'm going to be showing you around the interior of the car. So let's start with the exterior of the car and let's look at the design language of the car, because this car sits on the MQB Evo platform, which is the same platform as the Cupra Leon and the Cupra Formentor. But as you can see from the front of the car, to start with, you get the bronze Cupra logo, which is always pretty nice. It looks really premium. But if you look towards the bottom of the car and the sort of front grille area, now this looks a lot more like the design language of the Cupra Leon, the new Cupra Leon. And especially here, because this car sits slightly higher, it's a fully fledged SUV and not just a hatchback that's parading as a crossover. You've got this sort of double grille going on here. It just shows that the car sits more taller. And of course, at the front here, you've got the shark nose front bonnet as well. And I think that looks really cool, really aggressive, really sporty, especially with Cupra's new design language, this sort of rebel design language that they got going on. I think that looks really cool. Adding to that whole sharp feeling of the car, you've got these headlights over here, which have the three triangle effect in them. And we all know how Cupra like to incorporate triangles into their design. That's really cool as well. And when you unlock the car, they come with a startup greeting as well. As we move towards the side of the car, you can see this particular car sits on 20-inch alloy wheels. These are fully black, but you can get them with bronze features in there as well. Now the car is available with three wheel sizes. You can get the 18-inch, the 19-inch, and the 20-inch. The 18-inch is slightly thinner, and the 19 and the 20-inch are slightly wider. So you get more grip, you get more contact surface on the ground, but of course with the larger wheels, it might sacrifice some of your ride quality. So I think the 19-inch ones might be the ones to go for there as well. But if you look at the car from the side on, you can see here these wheel arches. They appear to be slightly flared, but the bodywork sort of comes in first and then they flare out. So in reality, they don't actually stick out that much, but it still gives it that cool feeling, that sort of effect, that's flared wheel arches. And the same at the back, you got this crease over here, which gives the rear haunches that sporty feel, but also you've got the slightly flared wheel arches, which I think look really cool on this car. So from the side profile of the car, you'll have also noted that this car is a full SUV and it's not just a crossover SUV with a sloping roofline. Compared to the Cupra Ateca, this car is slightly longer and slightly lower as well. So again, it has that sporty feel. It's designed to offer a bit more practicality than the Formentor. It's designed to appeal to a different market. You will have also noticed over here, you have this sort of black trim over here, similar to what you see in the Cupra Born, which gives the car a floating roofline effect, which you don't see in the Formentor, in the new Formentor. And you kind of get something similar in the Leon, but you don't get the full floating roofline effect. It makes the rear spoiler look a lot bigger and a lot longer, and again, a bit more sporty. As we move towards the very back of the car, you've got this new designed rear light, floating light bar, which I really love because it incorporates the illuminated Cupra logo in there as well. Now you might be thinking, when it comes to opening the boot of the Cupra Terramar, as with previous Cupras, you would normally open the boot using the logo or the badge. How would you do it in this car? Well, if it's anything like the Leon, then there should be a button somewhere, which, oh, it's down here, this one. And there you are. And there you have the boot. Now this car is supposed to be quite practical. So when it comes to boot capacity, depending on which version you get, you'll get either 400 litres of boot space or 490 litres of boot space with the back seats lowered in the hybrid versions, and in the fully petrol versions you'll get 540 litres of boot space and 630 litres if you fold the rear seats. And those rear seats fold with a 40-20-40 split. So it's great if you want to load through as well and still have rear passengers. A design feature of the Cupra Terramar that I quite like is this rear trim over here. It makes the car look more aggressive and it makes it look sporty because it gives it a rear diffuser kind of look, kind of feel. And that's because, obviously, because this car is going to have hybrid powertrain, it's there to hide that exhaust system and just make the back of the car look a lot more cleaner and a lot more nicer to look at. The exhaust system is under here, and the exhaust does come out of here for the hybrid and the petrol versions. And of course, if you want to, you can spec your car with a towing bar which will fit under here. So that's another reason why that exhaust system is hidden away. But I think it looks quite clean. I think it looks really nice, and I think it gives the back of the car, I think it gives it a lot of nice presence. While I am a fan of the exterior of the car, there's plenty to talk about here on the interior. There's loads of design features that have been incorporated from other Cupra vehicles, and loads of design features which look quite new as well. And I think they all come together to make the interior a nice place to be. We'll start with these seats. These seats, in this particular version that I've got here, this is a America's Cup Special Edition. So it has a custom interior with custom stitching, but in the standard version of the car, you can get it with 3 different characteristics, and all of those have some level of sustainability, recycled material, or a sustainable tanning process. A feature of the car that is quite apparent as soon as you get into the car is the central infotainment screen, which is now 12.9 inches, and it certainly does look quite a lot bigger. You'll also notice that these climate control buttons and the volume control buttons now are backlit, so you can see them in darker conditions when you're driving at night, which is really good. Overall, the touchscreen is a lot more responsive now as well, which was always a bit of a pet peeve when it came to Cupra vehicles. But of course, this is stuff that it has inherited from Volkswagen. But now everything's just a lot more quicker and a lot more crisp. And I think it's a huge improvement over the previous Cupra vehicles. In front of the driver, you get a 10.25-inch cockpit, which has improved graphics as well. It's a totally new system, and I think that improves that driving experience when it comes to using that on the road. The steering wheel in front of you, now that's got the satellite buttons as well, flappy paddles at the back, and the drive selector mode on a stalk at the back here, which is a bit more like the Cupra Born rather than at the bottom here like in the Leon or in the Formentor. So you'll notice that even though this car does sit on the same platform as the Born, as the Leon or the Formentor, it has a few design features that it's borrowed from elsewhere. I really quite like this sort of light bar that runs all the way along the dashboard and along the side of onto the driver side and passenger side door. Now that's there because it can warn you if you're when you're changing lanes, if there's car coming, if there's traffic coming from the side, that can flash up on either side to tell you there's car coming. And it can also flash up in front of you if it thinks that you're going to have a collision. And of course, it has all the driver safety features to prevent that from happening. The lights at the front are pretty cool because the lights can also warn you of certain things. They can project, they're really smart, they can project stuff onto the road to tell you where your wheels are positioned, I'm being told. And also, if you're too close to the car in front, that they can project information onto the road, because a lot of the times you might not be looking at your infotainment system, you might be looking at the road, and that's where you'll get your information from. You've also got a heads-up display as well, just in case you miss everything else. The inside of the car, the trim is really nice. I really like this center console bit here. You got this new design here with this triangular, features on here, which feel really nice, and that continues onto the dashboard as well. You've got bronze features in the vents. You've got bronze everywhere, as you would expect in a Cupra vehicle. And what I really quite like is this bronze trim that's over here that incorporates the door handle, so you can just use that to open the door. I think that's really cool. Aside from that, you've got a 12-speaker Sennheiser system that's all around the car, so you get loads of high quality sound in this car. Although I haven't tried it yet, but I will try it and I will let you know what it's like. Another feature inside the car is interior ambient lighting, which is here in the door in this sort of triangle pattern again on the front door, the driver door, the passenger door, and that also extends to the rear passenger doors as well. You can change that using your infotainment system, and you can change it to different profiles and different colors to match the different moods and the different characteristics of the car, and that translates into the light that you see on the door. I think that's really cool that they've incorporated that into not only the front cabin but also into the rear cabin, so it just makes life a bit more pleasant for everybody, for the family as well, for the kids in the back or for any passengers in the back as well. Talking about passengers in the back, you get this panoramic sunroof, which I will now open like so. Is it? There we go. Now that's an optional extra. You can fit that. It's a single option, and you can get a closed roof as well. But I think with the panoramic sunroof as well, this car just makes it a bit more airy. It makes it a bit more feels a bit more spacious inside. And I think, as with most Cupra vehicles, it should be nice to drive on the road, and it should translate that comfort into the driving experience. Talking about comfort, on the side of the center console, you get these pads which are there to support your legs when you're driving at a bit more aggressively, but they do seem a little bit firm, so I think they could do with being a little bit softer. But otherwise, I like that they've thought of that. Overall, yeah, a great place to be in the interior, typical of what we've seen from Cupra vehicles, but with that added flavor of some new design features, especially with this sort of handle over here that you can use to open and close the door. I really quite like it. It's really creative, and it gives that sharp edge to the car. It's good. So as I've mentioned, from the front cabin of the car, the rear cabin of the car feels equally as premium as the front. You still get the bronze stitching all over the seats, you get that interior ambient lighting, and you get the same design features in the trim as well. You've got plenty of light coming in from the panoramic sunroof, although I'm indoors at the moment, so that might not translate very well in the camera, but yes, there's plenty of light to come. But what you're interested in knowing is how much space there is in the back. Now, I'm 5'11", and I've got plenty of leg room. I mean, I've stretched my legs out. I've got almost a hand's width of knee room and headroom. Now, I thought headroom would be robbed because of this panoramic sunroof, but because this isn't a coupe, it doesn't have the sloping roofline, there's plenty of headroom here in the back for the rear passengers. Maybe the passenger in the middle might struggle a little bit with headroom if they're slightly taller, but otherwise rear headroom is pretty good. And check these lights out. You get these touch sensitive rear lights, which you just simply touch to turn on and you touch to turn off. There we go. That's pretty premium for rear passengers. So at this point, you might be wondering what sort of powertrains you can get this car in. Well, it comes in a mild hybrid, it comes in a fully petrol version, and it comes in a plug-in hybrid version as well. And power ranges between 150 horsepower to 272 horsepower, depending on which version you get. The petrol versions, you can get them in a 2-litre version, whereas with the hybrids, you get a 1.5-litre engine, and obviously you get the batteries and the electric motors with that, which power the front wheels. So it's a front-wheel drive SUV, but overall, I think the design language of this car, although certain things have been borrowed from other vehicles and certain things have been borrowed from the overall design language of Cupra, I think there's a few little features, especially on the interior, where it's pretty new and it's pretty creative. And I think if this is the direction that Cupra is going in, I think it's quite exciting. And I'm interested to see what this car is going to be like in terms of sales. I'm excited to see this car on the road because I think it will be quite popular, and I'm interested to see what the price is.